Hi guys, it's Hinda and welcome to Cooking Fantasies. In today's video, I will be showing you how to make the most delicious and moist banana bread ever. It's a very healthy version which doesn't contain any added sugar. We will also be adding some walnuts for more flavor and texture. We all know that walnuts go really nice in the banana bread. And like I said, it's very moist, it's easy to make. You only need 5 minutes tops to put it all together and put it in the oven. So watch till the end. I will be providing you with all the instructions you need to make this delicious banana bread and also all the alternatives you can use. And as always, I will be leaving you down in the description box all the ingredients you're gonna need to make this recipe in both the grams and cups measurements. So let's get baking. So before we get into the batter, we're gonna first prepare the baking tin. If you don't want to use parchment paper or you don't have it handy, what you can do is spray your tin with a non-stick spray or oil it and flour it before pouring in the banana bread batter. But what I'm doing instead is using parchment paper. And what I'm doing is cutting 2 pieces of parchment paper that I'm going to overlay with each other in order to cover all the sides and the bottom of my rectangular baking tin. The first one is long enough to cover the 2 small sides of the baking tin without necessarily covering the other sides as you see in the video. And then we're going to cut a second piece of parchment paper which is wide enough to cover the 2 larger sides of the baking tin without necessarily covering the 2 other sides. And then we're just gonna place these 2 pieces of parchment paper on the baking tin, overlaying with each other. Don't hesitate to use oil or butter to make them stick to the baking tin, and also between the 2 pieces of parchment paper to make them stick to each other. And now we can get into the batter. So start by breaking the 2 eggs and use just a fork to slightly beat them with the salt. And then we're going to start adding the rest of the ingredients. So add the yogurt. I used here Greek yogurt. If you don't have Greek yogurt, you can use any kind of yogurt you have in hand, or just whole milk, or also buttermilk works fine. And then we're going to add the honey. If you don't want to use honey, you can totally substitute with the same quantity of maple syrup. Then add the 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And in comes the oil. So the recipe calls for half a cup of oil. I personally used mostly olive oil, to which I added some walnut oil and a little bit of avocado oil till I filled my half a cup. You can use only olive oil if you prefer to, or coconut oil melted, or you can use also a mixture of both olive oil and melted coconut oil, or sunflower oil is also not bad. And now use a fork to mix everything together. We don't want to incorporate air or over mix anything. We just want everything to be well homogenic before we add in the bananas. And now we're going to add the bananas, so make sure to peel them off right before you add them into the batter. Make sure that the bananas are really ripe, almost overripe, with a lot of black spots on the skin, because only at this point you get this really nice banana flavor. You have a very creamy texture, and this is what you want to have in your banana bread. If you use green bananas or bananas that are not very ripe, the end result will be totally different in terms of texture and flavor. And then use a potato masher or whatever tool you have in the kitchen that will allow you to smash the bananas. To mix the dry ingredients, you're going to add the baking soda to the flour and also the cinnamon. I used here 1 tablespoon of cinnamon because I think it really enhances the flavor of the walnut and the banana. If you prefer a stronger cinnamon flavor, you can add more. If you don't, of course, you can totally skip it. And use a dry fork or whisk to mix all the dry ingredients together before adding them into the wet ingredients. Finally, we're going to add the chopped walnuts, which you can of course substitute with pecans or roasted almonds. Now use a spatula, a wooden spoon, or whatever you prefer to mix everything together. You don't want to over mix it or overdo it. Do it just enough until you don't see any flour and not incorporated, and it's already time to stop. After pouring the batter into the baking tin, you can already stop at this point and bake your banana bread, but if you prefer to, you can add some toppings. I personally added a few chocolate chips to the top. I sprinkled some cinnamon to give it a more cinnamon kick, but this is a tasting. If you don't like cinnamon, you can skip it. You can also top it with few chopped walnuts, and you can also sprinkle with some raw sugar to give it more crust. The oven must be preheated to 160 degrees Celsius, that's 320 degrees Fahrenheit, and it will take between 55 and 60 minutes to bake, and it's ready when a skewer or the lame of a knife comes out dry. Once out of the oven, place it on a cooling rack and allow it to cool slightly before you remove it from the tin. And as you can see, it has nicely risen. The outer crust looks so delicious. It has a nice golden brown to it. If you have used the parchment paper method I've showed you at the beginning, you can see how easy it is to unmold the banana bread and peel off the parchment paper, and the loaf looks just perfect. And there you are, you have yourself a very delicious banana bread that's very healthy, it's guilt-free, and it has the right texture and flavors. I really love it. I hope you try this recipe, and I'm sure you will also love it. If you have any questions regarding the recipe, please ask me down in the comment section and I will get back to you. And I thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and see you soon with a new recipe. Happy baking!